Hey folks, Doug Blake with Body Design University. In this video, I want to answer a question a student had asked me. Really good question, by the way. It's very specific to the training model that a lot of trainers use today in the fitness industry. It used to be that the one-on-one training model, where it was just a trainer and a client doing all of the exercises with this one individual for whatever period of time it was, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, whatever the duration of the training session was for. That was the way we did personal, quote, personal fitness training. And that sort of evolved and segued into what we now call small group training. And there's any number of reasons why it's more beneficial to do small group training. And there are some benefits to doing the one-on-one training. And a student had asked me, why is it better to do small group training when, and this was the caveat, when you can't watch and look at all the individuals that you're training? That is a great question. And I'm asked that quite often. Is it really the best way to do it? Because I can't, if I'm training, let's say 5 people, 4 people, I can't look and deal with each individual while we're going through a particular workout. And that is a legitimate question and a legitimate concern. And here is the answer: is that first off, when you're doing what we call small group training with resistance training, perhaps cardio training at the end of it, you are limiting it to a certain number of individuals. And what we normally say at Body Design University, and particularly in the business model and the training centers that we deal with, is don't do any more than about 5. 5 folks is about the max. 4 or 3 is really ideal. And here is the reason: is the amount of space needed for me as a trainer to be able to look at, acknowledge, and move to any of my clients that I have set up in their particular training, in the training row that I have them in. And so we would have, in this case, 5 stations, right, set up, and individuals would literally be maybe 2 to 3 feet apart from each other. Imagine that with 10 clients. That's way too many. I've got 10 clients. I got to go all the way down to the other side of the room. It would probably take way too long for me to get there. I mean, even a 3 to 4 second, if I have to run, for instance, it becomes a little bit challenging with 10 people. And of course, doing it with 2 people is a piece of cake, because it's literally, I can stand there and watch one person and watch the other. So in answering the student that asked me this question, 5 appears to be sort of the max, right? Even 5 could be a challenge for some new trainers. 4 is like perfect, because I don't have to move around too much. Remember that we are working in stations. If it is a boutique personal training center, then the entire center itself, the gym itself, is designed specifically for small group training. In other words, it's not a big box gym where I have multiple pieces of equipment. So again, this scenario is very specific to this type of business model. So again, roughly 5 people allows me as the trainer to both look at and then access the issues needed. If I have a client that needs me right there within a second or two, I can very quickly, with only 5 people, and you're talking about a span of maybe, I don't know, maybe 15 feet between client number 1 and client number 5, if that was the case, maybe 15, maybe 20 feet. But even then, that actual distance is not relevant until we start getting to, again, like I said, larger numbers. That's why we keep it down to a smaller group where I can actually move from one side to the other. So that answers that question. As long as I have the ability to access all, and I'm going to use the number 5 as the max, as long as I can access, get in front of, and assist all 5 of my clients within a second or two, generally there's not going to be much of an issue. That's one variable that we consider in this small group training model. The next one is really probably of more interest to folks, which is, well, if I've got 5 people, okay, I can do this, quote, spotting technique, as long as I'm using exercises that are not challenging from a spotting perspective. Dumbbell curls, lateral raises, it's not the end of the world if you're not spotting people, right? You don't have to sit there behind somebody on every repetition of a lateral raise like I used to do in one-on-one training. It's just not necessary, especially since I'm in this more coaching type of scenario. So the question then becomes, well, how do I teach? See, here it is. I've got new clients, and that is a great question. And the answer is really very simple. I do not explain a whole lot to my clients prior to the movement. I want my clients, all 5 of them, even if they're all new, I want them to start doing the movement. And if they're not doing it perfect in a biomechanical perspective, once I start the set, that gives me the perfect opportunity now to literally walk down the line of all of my 5 clients and correct and assist as I get to each one of them. Is it the most efficient way to do it? No, obviously the most efficient way or the fastest way to do it is with the one-on-one scenario. So that is one of the benefits of doing one-on-one is I'm literally with that individual from, minute 1 till the end of the workout. And I can get them to do the exercise, do all the nuances of do this, turn this way, go like this, and do. But after I do that a couple of times in a one-on-one scenario, generally the client's got the exercise figured out. By the way, most resistance training exercises, ladies and gentlemen, are not difficult to do. From a neuromuscular perspective, the learning doesn't take very long. And we're talking about, once again, basic exercises, particularly with dumbbells. Barbells are even easier. Remember, with a dumbbell, I got the 2 arms move, right? And if I'm teaching somebody dumbbell curls, yeah, I've got to get them to lift their rib cage up, and I've got to get them to, neutralize or drop their wrist back, yada, yada, the 20 different things that we look at. Sure, if I can do that with the one-on, it doesn't take very long for them to figure it out. So now the question again is, well, then how do I teach 5 people? And the answer is I'm not teaching per se. I'm getting them to do very simple, basic movements. And then I start the process of correction. That's one of the reasons why when we get into a small group training scenario, you as the trainer need to be, quote, fit enough to be walking around back and forth. It is one of the most critically important, I'm going to call it a skill, is to not just stand there and look at people. It's to go back and forth, watch every person and look at their technique. Remember, I'm going to use a dumbbell curl again as a classic example. Is a person holding 10 or 15-pound dumbbells going to hurt themselves if they're doing it, quote, incorrect, or they're not doing it as efficiently as possible? And the only time they really happens is if they drop the dumbbells. Okay, that for sure could be problematic. But I'm catching that right from the beginning before we start the exercise. And so with 5 people, I can just as easily say to each one of them, do this, go down slowly, and do this. Ready, begin. Now, when I do that, it takes me 2, 3, 4 seconds to do the initial explanation. But now the meat and potatoes is going to be when they start doing the exercise. Now I can go, and 5 people, I can watch 5 people and note all of the biomechanical issues that each one may be having. And guess what I can do now? Now I can go and access that individual's issues or problems and make noticeable changes, or at least give them the corrections that they need. Now I'm doing that for all 5 individuals. So the point here is that, is it more effective if I'm doing it one-on-one? Yes, but it doesn't take long to teach proper neuromuscular conditioning, right, for an individual doing basic exercises. Now, remember, this is very different than trying to teach 30 people how to throw a ball, like pitch a baseball. That's going to be very challenging because that requires substantially more neuromuscular facilitation on just the movement pattern. But lifting 2 dumbbells up and out to the side and coming down slow and controlled doesn't take very long to teach people how to do that. Once they learn the basic movement pattern, which literally can happen in 10 seconds, I'm literally having a person do. Now, when I start my set with 5 people, simple enough to walk over to Jane, Bob, Ted, or whoever is of the 5 people, and then look at them and let them know, go down a little bit slower, just as a for instance. Now, again, the point of this video was to give you some idea on, the differences, I guess, the subtle differences in how we deal with multiple individuals in small groups versus perhaps one-on-one. But again, to answer the basic question of how do I deal with 5 people, it's really quite simple. The exercises themselves, the movement patterns, the neuromuscular necessity or facilitation capacity needed, right? The biomechanical issues associated with doing basic training exercises allows me to get people to do the exercises relatively quick. And because it's only 5 people, I can access each individual pretty quickly to manage and navigate any issues or problems they might be having while they are doing the exercise. One final thing, remember, I've got 5 people. I can literally be talking at this level of volume, and all 5 of them can hear me. I can step back, and as they're doing their exercises, I can tell all 5 of them to do something as simple as everybody lift up your rib cage, just as a for instance. These are the techniques that that we teach, obviously, at Body Design University. That's very, very important when you're using a small group training type of business model. Now, I hope that this was helpful and effective when you go out there to start training individuals and you're going to use the small group training model. Remember, there's other benefits to doing 3, 4, 5 folks at any one given period of time. Obviously, there's the financial component to it. It's actually better for clients when they're being coached versus having to look at me for 45 minutes or whatever the case is. I just want to make sure you know that this is probably one of the better ways, right, to train folks in the industry today. If this was a helpful video, please let us know. Type the word understand in the comments section below. Just let us know how we can be of assistance by writing it, obviously, in the comment section. If you want more information on this particular topic, once again, let us know. Remember to subscribe to the channel. Sharing it's a great idea as well. And just let us know how we can be of further assistance. Have a great week. We'll see you next week. Thanks.